One of the important life process is a respiration that takes place in the living beings. And respiration is a metabolic process wherein the living cells of an organism obtains its energy to its metabolic activities. That energy could be in the form of ATP and it can be attained from intaking of the oxygen from the environmental air. And this respiration can be takes place in organisms varied according to their structure. In spiders and in most of the insects, there is a particular structure known as book lung to perform respiration. But in the lower organisms, just like sponges, there is not particular kind of organ system for this respiration, and it takes place due to the outflow and inflow of the water vascular system. And in some worm like caterpillars consist of spiracles to the respiration. And as we all know that fishes, the aquatic organisms are consist of gills for performing the respiration. Actually, the respiration can be takes place within two process. First one is breathing, and as we all know that what is breathing, it is simply the intaking of the atmospheric air and exhaling out the unwanted air from the body. That is breathing. And the second one is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is a newly introduced term to you, and let us see what is cellular respiration. Actually, this cellular respiration is something takes place within a cell. That means after a result of the digestion, the end product, the glucose, is coming to reach to its target cells. And this glucose is undergoing for the process of glycolysis, and as a result of the glycolysis, pyruvate is formed. Okay, the process of glycolysis takes place within the cytoplasm of a cell. And what happens to this pyruvate? This pyruvate can be undergoing for some changes due to two circumstances. If there is no oxygen, and the next one is if there is oxygen. First condition, if there is no oxygen is present, then that condition is known as anaerobic condition. In the anaerobic condition, the pyruvate can be changed into or converted into two resultant products. First one is ethanol and the second one is lactic acid. Okay, so the production of ethanol from the pyruvate can be used in the industries, brewery industries, baking industries, just like that, because this ethanol is a kind of alcohol. So this particular condition of transformation of pyruvate to the ethanol can be used in our various industries. And the same thing is happened just by the presence of the lower organisms such as yeast. And yeast facilitates a fermentation of things, and this fermentation is resulted in the production of wine, juices, or brewery, baking, etc. Okay, so this is the first product that we can obtain from the anaerobic condition of the anaerobic conversion of the pyruvate, and the second one is lactic acid formation. Lactic acid is a kind of acid that can be found in our body also. That means if sometimes our muscle cells are undergoing for a continuous working, so enough oxygen is not reaching to that particular cell, and the glucose, the division of glucose takes place within the cell, is resulted in the production of lactic acid because there is not enough oxygen is reach or available in that particular kind of muscle cells. So what happens is that lactic acid can be formed within the muscle cells. Okay, so these are two types of product can be obtained during the anaerobic respiration. First one is pyruvate can be converted into ethanol. It's a kind of alcohol and it can be used in the baking industries and brewery industries. The second type of product is a lactic acid, and it can be obtained within our body muscle cells. And along with this, if there is anaerobic respiration takes place along with ethanol or the lactic acid, there should be the formation of energy also, but it is in small amount, very minute amount of energy is also formed there, and that energy molecules are known as ATPs. That is what here is showing, two ATPs formed along with ethanol or lactic acid. Okay, so the second condition is whether there is the presence of oxygen. That condition is known as aerobic condition, aerobic respiration. In that aerobic respiration, the pyruvate is converted into the formation of carbon dioxide, water, along with a high amount of energy. During anaerobic condition, the energy production was about 2 ATP molecules, but here it should be about approximately 30 to 32 ATP molecules. And one thing is that anaerobic respiration takes place within the cytoplasm of that particular kind of cell. But this aerobic condition only takes place within the mitochondria of the cell. And that is why the mitochondria is known as a powerhouse of the cell, because within this mitochondria, the 30 to 32 ATP molecules, a huge amount of ATP or the energy molecules are produced within the mitochondria. That is why we call it as powerhouse of the cell. So these are the two pathways where the cellular respiration takes place, and the three major products of the cellular respiration is: first one ethanol, second one lactic acid, the third one is ATP along with carbon dioxide and water. And remember that what is fermentation also. Fermentation is a resultant process that happening during the anaerobic respiration. And we already discussed about ATP. Actually, ATP is the adenosine triphosphate, and that is an organic compound that provides energy to the various metabolic activities of a cell. And this ATP is actually consists by the one adenine molecule is combined with three phosphate molecule. That is a formation of adenosine triphosphate. And when it is undergoing for a breakage, when there is a breakage is happening in their bonding, what happens is that one phosphate molecule getting detached from this ATP, and during that breaking down of one phosphate molecule, there is an energy formed. So when the adenosine triphosphate is converted into adenosine diphosphate and a single phosphate molecule, there is a generation of energy takes place. Okay, so ATP is an energy rich molecule, and if there is no ATP is there, the functions of the cells cannot be performed very well. Okay, so ATP is very important term, and ATP is very important factor in a living organism. And respiration in plants. We know that the gaseous exchange is very important in plants' body. Actually, that takes place through the process of diffusion. We know that what is diffusion? The movement of the particular molecules from their higher concentration position to their lower concentration area. That is a diffusion process. During daytime, within the plants, there is photosynthesis is happening. And for that photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is very important factor. A major factor is carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is utilizing there during the daytime. So there is not an elimination of carbon dioxide takes place. But at night time, there is no photosynthesis is happening. So carbon dioxide is eliminated out. So this is what happening. And during daytime, As a result of photosynthesis, instead of carbon dioxide, oxygen is eliminated out. But during night, carbon dioxide is eliminated out. This is what the gaseous exchange takes place in plants during the respiration. And coming to the human respiratory system, it is a crucial part in the respiration. This is how the respiratory air enter into the human body. When we breathe in, it enters via our nose or mouth. Actually, the nasal entry is a major entry point of the atmospheric air, and it is travels to the nasal cavity and enter into our pharynx and larynx. And from there, it enter into the trachea, also known as a windpipe. Windpipe, and from their trachea, it again enter into two branches that are bronchi. There are left and right bronchi are there. Singular term is bronchus. Bronchus. Bronchus is there. So from each bronchi, it passes to its finer branches that are bronchioles. So each lungs are present with a lot of bronchioles are there. And from that bronchioles, this air enter into the alveoli. Actually, these alveoli are the final point of the atmospheric air. And from that alveoli, the oxygen that coming from the atmospheric air is absorbed there, and it is then diffused to the blood capillaries. Let us see how it could be possible. See, this is a major respiratory parts of the human body, and we can see that there is trachea. It is covered with the cartilaginous rings, and these cartilaginous rings providing an elastic property to the trachea to withstand with the high pressure that exerted by the air to avoid the collapsion. And when this trachea is going to enter into the two lungs, we can see there is bronchus is there. Bronchus is a branch of trachea, and when this bronchus is going to enter into the lungs, we can see it is divided into finer branches, and that are known as bronchioles. And in the right side, we can see it is protected with the rib cage, and in left side it is showing the sectional view of the lungs. Okay, so the position of the lungs is protected with the covering of the ribs, and to below to these lungs there is a muscular portion is known as that are diaphragm. And alveolus or alveoli are tiny balloon shaped structures that are located at the tip of each bronchioles, and they are the path of they are the smallest passageway in the respiratory system. And actually these are very thin structures, and due to this delicate structure, it allows the passing of oxygen and carbon dioxide in between these alveoli and the blood vessels circulating there. When you are observing this figure, it is very clear that there is a clear networking of capillaries around to the alveoli. See how the division of the bronchioles takes place, and how each branch of alveoli is there, and how it is surrounded by the capillaries. From there you can see the blue colored capillaries are the part of the pulmonary artery that carries the deoxygenated blood, and how it surrounds the alveoli and how it enters into the pulmonary vein. So the point of alveolus is where the exchanging of the gases takes place. Approximately 1 cubic millimeter of lung tissue contains around 170 alveoli. Okay, so we can assume that how minute it is. 170 alveoli is within the 1 cubic millimeter of lung, and while we are calculating the total number of alveoli, it can be millions within the two lungs of a human being. So this alveoli is providing enough space, enough surface area to make this diffusion or make the gaseous exchange more or more effective. Let us see how the gaseous exchange takes place within the alveolus and the capillary. This is a structure of an alveolus. The entry point is from the pulmonary artery. It's a capillary, and that pulmonary artery is consists of the deoxygenated blood. That is why here it is indicating by the blue color cells, and it coming to the contact with the alveolar membrane. You can see there is one thin membrane of the alveoli and one thin membrane of the blood capillary is coming into contact with each other, and through this thin wall barrier the diffusion can be easily takes place, and within that deoxygenated blood the oxygen is very low quantity, so that from the alveoli it is very easy to enter the oxygen into this blood capillary. And within this blood capillary carbon dioxide is abundantly present, and that is in less quantity within the alveoli. So from here, from the capillary, the carbon dioxide enter into the alveoli, so that the blood gets oxygenated there. Okay, through the process of diffusion, oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged at the point of blood capillary and the alveoli. And again this oxygenated blood is enter into the pulmonary vein, and then it connects to the heart. Okay, so this is how the gaseous exchanges takes place within the each point of alveoli within the lungs. This is how the lungs perform the purification function of blood by providing enough oxygen and taking out the carbon dioxide from that. And along with the part of the lungs, our ribs and diaphragm has a great role in our respiration. When we breathing in, our chest portion requires more space to occupy the atmospheric air. For that purpose, what happens is that our ribs get move upwards, so our chest portion get expanded, and at that time diaphragm get contracts and it move downwards. So there is a space is occurred at that chest portion, and when breathing out is takes place, that means exhalation is takes place, what happens, the ribs get move downwards. So normally the chest portion get contracted and diaphragm coming back to its relaxation position. So that means diaphragm moves upwards to occupy its dome shape. So as a result, the space in between the chest portion is reduced when breathing out is takes place. So when you comparing the both structure, breathing in and breathing out, you can see how much portion is occupied by the lungs in both figures.